Right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching this. This is the part two of the video. This has some information, just some additional information, especially for newer families, and does a lot of stuff about where to find information on meets and how to sign up for meets. We have two meets that are currently, you'll see, we have two meets that are currently available to sign up for. All right, so without further ado, thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, please watch part one of the parent video as well. This video is going to have a little bit of information on how to find out information about each meet and how to sign up for meets, and then a website tour, especially for new families, but probably good for everybody. We had this in the last video, but this is a slide that shows the schedule for this year. This is also available on our website. We'll show you where when we get to the website tour. There's also some companion documents that go with it. A little blurb about USA Meets for those of you that aren't familiar. There's some things that are fundamentally different about USA Meets than Summer League Meets. Summer League Meets have the same format week to week, or meet to meet. Event 11 is always the girls 25 8 under 25 freestyle, right? They often have the deadline the week of the meet. They're usually a two-team duel or sometimes a three-team duel. And generally the focus is on a team score. For USA Swimming Meets, we're going to have varied events in a varied format. So event 11 might be different from one meet to the next. The deadline's usually 2 or 3 weeks out. Usually they're invites with multiple teams. And generally speaking, individual performance takes precedence over team performance. That allows us, the swimmers, to do different events. It's going to be a very rare situation in which we're going to, say, hey, we really need you to do butterfly this weekend for the team. We might want you to do butterfly for your own growth or your own improvement, but whereas a summer league, you might need to, fill out the events and have enough kids in each individual event. That doesn't really happen with back, with only a few exceptions. Other than maybe, I guess sometimes we need to twist some arms to get kids into different strokes to fill out relays. And I'll show you where there's another document on the website that explains some more detail on this. Information for each meet. There is basically kind of two big informational documents for each meet. The first is called the meet packet. That's provided by the host team. That should have all of the information for the meet, and I mean all of the information. It includes a lot of stuff that the average swimmer in the family doesn't need to read. It includes all the, disclaimers that you can't operate a drone without meet director permission. It includes, language for what athletes with a disability should do for accommodation. It includes, just all that information. I'll show you an example. Generally speaking, it's a lot for a family to look through, and generally speaking, you don't have to. What it's great for, though, is it's usually a pretty good visualization of the events and the event order, and helpful for when you're looking and signing up. There's also a family information document for each meet. This is something that we take care of ourselves, and it basically takes the information for the meet packet and breaks down the most important information for you on what you need. Other than we don't, repeat or copy the event order. We'll show you a couple examples of this as well. These are Google Docs, so they get updated after the initial posting. When we open a meet, we will have one ready, and that'll have all the basic information, and then we update it as we go. Anytime we do a major update, we email everybody signed up for the meet. Typically, there aren't a lot of updates until basically the week of the meet, sometimes the week before, when things like the timeline, warm-up assignments, heat sheets posted, that kind of information. Selecting events for a meet. Athletes select the events, but coaches then go in and approve events. Swimmers generally can select whatever they want to do. Swimmers should be involved. Ideally, if you have an older swimmer, you're logging in and passing them the computer, passing them the phone, passing them the tablet. If you have a younger swimmer, ideally, it would be great to sit down with them in front of the computer so they can get involved in the process, so that they are able to do that as they get older. At the minimum, you should be having a conversation with your swimmer. I get it. It's not always easy to get them in front of the computer, and you forget about it in the deadlines that night, and you're on the way home from practice, and you just talk it out. Hey, did you want to do backstroke or butterfly for this meet? Okay, great. I'll sign you up when we get home. So just definitely, it shouldn't be just mom or dad or whatever grown up picking the events for them. That should never be the case. Coaches going to prove and will sometimes override. Like I said, it's not often for like, oh, the team really needs you in this, but it's, hey, you did backstroke both the first couple meets. Let's try something different. You haven't done breaststroke yet this year. I think you're finally ready to do a 200 freestyle. I think that we haven't seen you do, those sorts of things. Almost always, coaches will then communicate that change to swimmers so that there aren't any surprises. It does get missed every once in a while, especially for our older athletes that the coaches kind of are working more directly with them. They might not send an email, they might just talk to them at practice. But generally speaking, there shouldn't be an occasion where your swimmer shows up to a meet and they are surprised at a change a coach made. So we should mix it up. We often say that 3 events in a day seems like a pretty good number. So I put general rules to have 2 kind of more familiar events, some of your favorite events, events you've done before, events you're most comfortable with, and then try at least one stretch or newer event for you, something you haven't done, a longer distance of a stroke you like, a stroke that maybe isn't your favorite, that sort of thing. And obviously, if you're doing a multi-day meet and you're doing 5 or 6 events. Maybe that's 4 and 1 or 3 and 2 or 4 and 2. And then some exceptions would be, some of our performance meets like a glow or a state meet, where swimmers are trying to do their very best meet lineup. Obviously, those meets you don't often see the stretch or newer events as much. A couple other notes about selecting your events. You want to stick to 1 session per day. Lots of meets, and you'll see an example when we get into the website tour. Might have the ability, your kids might be eligible for, say, some AM events and some PM events. It's very rare that we think that's a good idea. Maybe at the end of the year, very specific circumstances, we'll probably have single digits instances this entire season with all of our kids. So that's out of thousands of meet entries where we are going to encourage a swimmer to spread their events over 2 sessions in a day. You don't necessarily need to max out our events that our meets that we host. We set the number at usually at 3, maybe sometimes 4 individual events per day. 3 to 4 sounds pretty good. Sometimes it'll be, you can do up to 6 in a day, just because the meet host does what is, in my opinion, a dumb format doesn't mean you all need to go ahead and follow along with it. So 3 and sometimes 4 is a great number of individual events. Often there's a relay thrown in there. Speaking of relays, no need to sign up for relays. Coaches will assemble relays based on the swimmers available. It's almost always just the times, right? The size of our team. And we want to make sure we're just being really objective with it. So there's a way to just go in as coaches and just click find best relay, and that's what we often do. Swimmers that have improved a lot since the previous season, since the last time they swam for back, swimmers that are newer to back, that first meet or two, it might not shake you out into kind of your truly most representative relay spot. But that's okay too. We will very often at meets, especially at meets we host, if it's looking like the seed times that, the back A is going to win handily and the back B is going to get second and the back C is going to get third, we'll take the top 2 relays, the top 8 swimmers, and mix them up so that our A and our B are A1 and B1, right? So that they have somebody to race, so that we have some better competition. That also gets kids interacting with, different kids that they might not always be on relays with, and gets kids out of the mindset of like, well, I have to be on the A relay, otherwise it's not, we have a big team, deep relays. We will score C and D relays at our state meets for age group swimmers, and that's actually for all of our age groups. So we want kids to learn not to obsess over what the letter is. No need to sign up for relays, but if your swimmer is not available for relay for some reason, you can make a note on that for us. A few more details you might see in some of the meet information, including in some of these first 2 meets that are open, either the word open or senior. Open or senior usually means that these events are open to any age group, so you could have a 6-year-old in an open event. Most of the time, for most meets, open is 15 and over. It's the only option for 15 and over, or sometimes it's the only option for 13 and over. So generally, your younger swimmers aren't doing those meets are doing those events unless they're doing it very intentionally and purposely, and you can talk to your coach about that. So generally speaking, age group kids stay out of open or senior. But there might be some meets where that's all the events are open, right? All the kids are just swimming together no matter what their age. There's really not a difference between open and senior. It's just sort of two things that mean fundamentally the same. Sometimes there's unusual age groups. We'll look at that when we look at the Verona meet. There's some sessions where there's an 11-12 event, or some of the events are 11 and over, or some of the events are 13 and over. It's just about the meet host designing a format that they think works well for them. Our back deadlines for meets are usually on Thursdays. We standardized this a couple of years ago. We found it works pretty well. we'll send. It works pretty well for us. Here's how we communicate. Once an email is, or excuse me, once a meet is posted, we will send a mass email. Hey, everybody, Back Spooktacular is up and available for sign up. Here's a link to the family information document. Then usually that week, the lead coaches will plug it. Hey, Trophy Swimmers reminder that we posted Back Spooktacular last week, so go ahead and sign up. We also probably will remind you, hey, this is the week of the deadline for the Back Spooktacular, and we send one more email out to anybody that's undeclared the week of the meet. And we'll talk about what undeclared means versus signing up or signing out or attending or declining. All right, so we're gonna do a website tour here. We'll start with all the stuff we just talked about with meets and how to sign up for meets. Reminder that Team Unify is imperfect, right? But it's the best we have available for us. It does a lot of things behind the scenes for us, admin wise, that make it a pretty powerful tool for us. Basically, what we use it for is gonna be practice calendar, especially for Madison groups. You can check billing and invoices and that sort of information. We use it obviously to do a lot of communicating to you guys. We'll talk about how to add alternate emails when we get to the tour. We use it obviously for entering meets, and then we also use it for checking results. I'm going to switch my share here to the website tour. Let me just get a second here. We were all so much better at Zoom over COVID, and I think it's good that we aren't that good at it anymore. Um, I'm sorry, where is it? There we go. Okay, great. So, all right. Here is our home website tour. We'll go over all this in a second, but since we just talked about meets, I want to skip right to that. There are actually a couple different ways you can get to the meet sign up on the website. I'm going to go through here through the meet tab. The first thing I'm going to look at before I go to actually signing up for a meet is this 25-26 short course yard season. This is where we have some of the stuff we talked about. This is where you can see the meet schedule. This is where you can see this additional information. Talks about kind of what meets are the same. Some new meets, talks about the IMR meet that's in February, and a couple things that are still TBD that are probably going to be updated as we go. There's also an additional information on the IMR meet. I'm not going to go over this a lot right now, but look at this, please, and maybe mark this calendar, especially if you have a swimmer. Basically, what this is, I won't go over the details, but basically, if your swimmer is a caliber swimmer that qualifies for Glow or for state meets and stuff like that, there's a lot of really cool USA Swimming meet experiences. But we felt that kids that just kind of never or often don't qualify for state had a lot of great local meets and maybe a travel meet here or there, but we wanted to have a real fun, like you got to earn it meet experience. So this is something that your swimmer can earn the right to participate in our IMR meet in February, even if they are the slowest swimmer on the team or the slowest swimmer in their age group. You earn the right to participate in this meet by doing all 5 IMR events for their age group. So if you are a 9-10-year-old, you're doing all 5 50s and you're doing the 100 IM, right? By the end of the January Classic. And again, we'll stress this more later, but if you have a swimmer that wants to have an exciting meet opportunity but isn't often a state level kid, this is something you should check out ahead of time. Then there's also USA Swimming frequently asked questions that we put together. Kind of talks about some of the same stuff that was in the slide, difference between summer meets and USA Swimming meets, but you can read this at your leisure as well. To get to the meet itself, if you just click on meets, the meet sign up. So this will show only the meets that are currently posted and open. So you can see we just opened 2 different meets, the Back Spooktacular at Middleton and the Vast Trick or Treat meet in Verona. We try to be really consistent with our formatting here. So you'll see that there's always going to have the deadline as the last page. We're almost always, as much as we can, we're going to include a meet logo or a team logo in here. So you can kind of see at a glance what meet we're talking about. This is something that parents often miss. Attend decline over here is where you go to sign up. But what parents often miss is you can actually click on the meet itself, and that gives you some more information. Some of it's information that is gobbledygook for you, right? Like enforced entry based on bracket qualifying times. No, that just means are there time standards for this meet. So some of this is going to be gobbledygook for the average parent. But what you can do here is, again, the logo, a little bit about the meet. This is where you can see the meet packet, and this is where you can see the family information document. We'll go to the meet packet first. This is our meet packet. Nice cover page. Like I said, just scrolling down, you can see that there's just a lot of information on here that the average family doesn't, you don't need to care that we're doing a Daktronics with Hornstart touchpads, one or two buttons. You don't need to care that who the admin official is. Hi, it's me. You can look at this stuff certainly, but it's probably stuff that you don't need to get bogged down in the details. Usually the beginning of the meet information has kind of the who, what, where, when, including the schedule for stuff. But what you want to do is most of them are going to have a table that looks something like this. So this is for our Spooktacular. Here is a list of the Saturday events. And also we usually list the start time and the warm-up time. Is the Sunday AM session, the Sunday mid session, and the Sunday PM session. This is probably the most helpful thing in the meet packet for you looking and visualizing and trying to figure out what events work for you. Going back to this, there's also the back family information document. Again, this is something we produce just for our swimmers. Obviously, this is our hosted meet, but you'll see we have a Verona one as well. Kind of has the basic information, a quick sentence or two about who should sign up for the meet and what they should pick. Just basics in the table here, when and where, a link to the meet landing page. Right now there's not going to be a lot there. It's just our back hosted page. It doesn't have a lot of information. You see we have the graphic up and a bunch of dead links that aren't up yet. Some bullet points on what the meet format is, some bullet points on event selection and selecting the right events. Big, nice highlighted, bold reminder on when the deadline is. This is all the stuff that we have posted that you should look at before you sign up for the meet. The third page is often going to be stuff that we post initially, but you'll see there's a lot of TBD and a lot of question marks. This is where this is the part of the document that's going to get updated, especially the week of the meet. Once we know what time the Sunday session is starting, what time the Sunday PM session is over, when warm-ups are, all of that information. We'll not only update all the information in this table, but then we'll also put some additional information down here about sometimes there's parking issues, right? Or access to facility or reminders on what suit to wear or, whatever there might be for that particular meet. But as you can see now, this should give you all the basic information for selecting your events. So how do we do that? Well, oh, excuse me, get out of there. To select event, let me just show you real quick. Verona, very similar, right? You'll see there's a different format, but they have their meet packet in there as well. All the information, parking information, a little bit different look to the table. Doesn't necessarily have all the times on there, but you should get the same sense there and just a little bit different look. There is a waiver at the bottom of these. You don't need to fill that out. The waivers are for teams to fill out. And same thing with the family information document. It's the same information, just curated from their meet info, has the date on there, box, meet format, event selection, and some TBD information that'll get updated as we get closer. All right, so how do you sign up for a meet? Well, let's see. So going into here, close that out. You can hit over here, attend or decline. This is where you can sign up or sign out for a meet. You never have to decline. You never have to decline for a meet. You can if you want to. Let's say Lillian wasn't going to be at this meet. Well, I guess first when you click on it, you'll see, I just have the one athlete, Lillian. So that's all that shows up. If you have multiple, it shows up that way. You can see that Lillian's undeclared. If she wasn't going to do this meet, I could go in and sign out like that and say that she's not going to attend the meet. That will save me from getting one email or I guess will save you from getting one email from me. Usually the day before the deadline, I will email everybody that's undeclared and say, hey, just a reminder. So if you think it's more of a pain in the butt to get that email, you can go in and sign out. If you think it's more of a pain in the butt to sign out, you can just ignore the email when it comes. All right, so by selecting yes, please sign Lily up for this event. What should pop up right away is all the events that she's eligible for. Lily is 8. So she's actually eligible for this meet for 3 different sessions. She's eligible for the open events. She's eligible for the 8 and under events that are on Sunday morning. And she's eligible for the 10 and under events that are Sunday afternoon. You can see here this blue bar. This often gets missed from parents. This tells you what day and session you're signing up for. So please be aware, right? Don't just click these events and then think you signed up for Sunday, or click these events thinking you're signing up for Saturday. If you need to refer back to the meet packet, you can, but this is Saturday, this is Sunday. For this particular meet, if Lily couldn't do Sunday, or if Lily was the type of 8 and under that's really raring to do some 50 events, which she is not. She could, in theory, do open, but I think most of our age group swimmers, most of our 10 and unders, are probably end up skipping Saturday and focus on just Sunday. So Lily has Sunday events here. This is where it comes in where we don't want you to do the 25 free, the 25 back, and the 50 back. Even if Lily's most favorite thing in the world is 50 back and she really wants to try it, I would say let's stick to events in this one. We can find 3 events in this one or just 2 events, but we don't want to spread it out over 2 sessions because it's just going to make for a really long day. You'll see here, there's seed times listed. If you hover over it, it shows where she got her seed times from. You can just click 3 events. If you go to click a 4th event, because this one is a max of 3, you can see up here in the corner, it'll tell you can't. If you ever get that box and you think it's an error, that happens. Either we make a mistake in the meet file or the meet host does. Reach out to me or your swimmer's lead coach and we can look at it. Sometimes if there's a time standard meet, these are either going to be black or red. Black meaning they're eligible for it, and red meaning they aren't eligible for it. We only have a few of those meets a year, and people figure it out. Let's see. I think that's what I had here for signing up for meets. Remember to sit with kids while you do it. Hopefully that gives you all you need to sign up for meets. The rest of this is going to be kind of just a website tour. It'll take about 5-8 minutes here. But again, experienced families, if you don't feel you need this part, that's fine. Front page, we don't typically do a bunch of, we're not updating the picture on the front of the web every week or anything like this. The reason is that honestly, you guys probably won't use this front page very much. So this doesn't get as updated as much as say like, we'd rather post new pictures to Instagram or an Instagram story or Facebook than we would updating the pictures on the front of the web here. If you scroll down, you'll notice some other buttons. This is another way. This meets and events button right here. There's another way you can get to meet sign up, or here's another way you get to meet sign up here at attend decline, just like that. So you can scroll down from the top. Some of the main things on here, obviously, so the site location ones, that has a lot of information that you looked at when you were signing up in July or August. Typically, these are not super dynamic, and once they're set for the season, we don't change and post a bunch of information there. Once we know winter information, we might post it there, obviously spring, but these 3 tabs don't get a lot of use during the season. Practice calendar, this is mostly for our Madison groups because we have so many changes, it can be very hard to keep track. So this is what you should be looking at to make sure when your swimmer is going to be practicing. Emails and documents, we've referred to this several times. Anytime we send out something a mass email with something important, we link to it here. This is a chance for you guys to check back and find it without searching through your emails. Meets we talked about already. Parent resources. This is something we added in the spring and then didn't really build out to the extent we wanted to. We have a bunch of these sort of half done and bullet pointed, but we don't have the finished document up. We'll be adding to this in September into October with a bunch of resources. Right now, what it has mostly is some links to information you might find helpful. We also then have sponsors, team records, some other information. And then this is the other one you'll probably use quite a bit is back hosted meets. And again, we already linked to it from the family information document, but this is where we'll post the heat sheets and the warm-up assignments and the session reports that tell you what time your kid's racing, all that stuff. One thing that people tend to forget and not notice is up here. There is a link to coach and board of directors. We've been updating these. My hair is not nearly that long. But we're updating these as we go, adding new coaches, adding new pictures, updating bios. Let's see. Part of the reason we don't fuss about having this front page updated is most of the stuff you guys are going to do is actually kind of through the back end. So you can see up here, hello, Jacob Johnson, go into my account. This is probably where you're going to do a lot of information or a lot of activity. You're going to notice over here, there's a lot of things, and most of these we don't utilize. My account. Here's one of the most simple ones. This is where you can add an alternate email. If you have another adult that wants to get the email, or if your swimmer is old enough that they check email through school or anything else, and you want them to get, the silver group weekly email delivered right to them, this is where you can put that in under the alternate emails. Billing summary, I'm not going to click on that. Lest it's, I don't know, I don't think there's any personal information in there, but just in case. Payment setup, similarly, due schedule. That's all billing stuff. You can reach out to Sherry if you have any questions. Members, this is where it shows your members and shows if they're active, stuff like that. Calendar, we don't use a ton. Org tools, we don't use a ton, but this is another way you can link to the coach and board page. Classes, we use only sparingly for some of our like stay in shape practices like we did in August. Practice management, we don't utilize. Events and competition, this is another way you can get to both meet signups, team events, and then meet results. Team events, if you just click that, it just goes to the same place we've been looking at, where you can either click on the meet or the family information document or attend decline. You click on meet results. This is where you get results for all your swimmers. So Lily popped up here. If you have multiple athletes, you can select from there. This shows all your meet results forever. So if you have a 15-year-old that's been on back since they were 7, this is going to be a really overwhelming page. You'll see up here you can do a fair bit of sorting, right? If I wanted to see Lily's 25 backstrokes that she's ever done, I can select that, filter, and search. So here's the backstrokes that she's ever done. We'll talk later about, there's going to be some more videos, parent education videos. It's something we added this spring, and we're going to add more to it this year. But one of them is going to be about what improvement looks like, and you'll see. So here's Lily when she was 6, first 25 backstroke, 59. Then she got a lot faster, 43, 43. And then her last one of the season, she didn't do the event at regionals that year, was the groundhog. It was slower. Last year, started faster than the year before. Had some nice swims in the fall, and then kind of just stuck at that 41 mid all through there. You don't want to see it, but it happens. And then you can see, for some reason, the All City results are not supposed to be in here, where we have a support ticket to clear them out, but they are currently in there right now, and you can see those as well. They hopefully will not show up for meet results, but if we do, we'll go in and manually edit it. There is ways you can go through these standards, right? You can find different standards for futures or, LSC championship meets. I would be a little wary of relying on that. Some of those are just inputted by other users, and they're not necessarily as reliable as they could be. But so this is where you can look at, you can look at everything. If you want to see what are just Lily's top 3 backstrokes, you can look at that. Okay. Let's see. Here's another one that I didn't know was there. What am I looking for? Yes. Event and job reports. Here's an interesting one that I actually didn't really realize was on here, but meet attendance for my account. This shows you the meets. So I already did the filter. I just did this for everything. But let's say that, later this year, the January Classic, you're looking to talk about events and you want to make sure they've done something they haven't done yet this year, haven't done in a while. And this is what you could do. You could look at it and look at, it's a way to quick glance at what different events your swimmer has done at their different meets. So you can see, what Lily signed up for going back to the Spooktacular and all the way up to the Vast Spring Fling last spring. So that's kind of a nice little note there. But that is kind of all that I had. Like I said, poking around on it will get you familiar with it. It's hopefully not too overwhelming. It's like a lot of things where at first it isn't necessarily so intuitive where everything is, but once you get a little accustomed to it, it's pretty nifty. So hope that helps for everybody. Thank you very much for attending. Let me make sure I don't have anything else on my PowerPoint here. Nope. Thanks for watching. And like I said, we'll have some additional swimmer and parent education videos all season. We also have some from last spring that are definitely worth your while, especially for older swimmers that are interested in college or anything like that. There's a lot of good information there. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll have a great rest of the fall season. Go back.